This material is a passionate video essay exploring the radicalization, conspiratorial thinking, and psychological mechanics of a highly extreme internet following. I'll hand it straight to you so we can jump right into the tone and style lens.
Yeah, let's get right into it. The rhetorical whiplash between grave accusations and internet-style mockery severely dilutes the impact of the core warning.
It really does. I mean, reading through the transcript, it addresses some highly serious real-world dangers.
Oh, absolutely. We are talking about deeply ingrained anti-Semitism, real-world violence in Albania, and, actual bomb plots at turning point events.
Right. Those are massive, heavy stakes. But then the author just sandwiches these grave topics between, internet slang and sarcastic tangents.
Yeah, the random tangents about Boy George, or using these ad hominem nicknames, like calling the subject Miss Scamness the damnedest, or referring to a burgundy magenta flag.
The material makes a strong case for the dangers of this rhetoric by highlighting those real-world consequences. But it's like trying to deliver a crucial, life-saving weather warning while wearing a clown nose.
That is a perfect way to put it.
I mean, the severity of the message gets entirely lost in the delivery of the presentation.
It really does. And this inconsistent tone, well, it creates a massive vulnerability for the author.
Because it gives detractors an excuse to just dismiss it?
Exactly. It gives them an incredibly easy excuse to write off the entire argument as just a dramatic, bad faith internet troll rant, rather than, a serious societal critique.
Which is the exact opposite of what the author wants to achieve. So, what is the core suggestion to fix this?
We need to recalibrate the tone completely. The goal is to establish the author as the mature, objective observer.
Right, contrasting sharply with the chaotic, unhinged nature of the cult.
Yes, we don't want to lose the author's passion, because that is the driving force of the piece. But they need to weaponize it through composed, chilling accuracy rather than playground insults.
So for some concrete examples, instead of repeatedly using derogatory nicknames like a damnedest of the damnedest, what should they do instead?
Just refer to the subject by her actual name. Or, use clinical terms like the subject or the purveyor to maintain the intellectual high ground.
I like that. It sounds much more authoritative. And when transitioning to the real-world consequences, like the violence in Albania or the Turning Point USA plot, they should be much more explicit.
Right. Explicitly state the shift in stake. They need to write something like, this moves beyond internet banter into real-world harm.
Make the audience feel that tone shift immediately. Oh, and speaking of protecting that authoritative stance, they really need to remove that sarcastic Happy Pride Month aside.
Oh, 100%. It entirely distracts from the core focus of the psychological critique.
And it completely undercuts the author's own stated intention of acting Christ-like, which they explicitly mention earlier in the transcript.
Yeah, you cannot claim the moral high ground while taking cheap shots, which naturally brings us to our next major issue, concerning structure and flow.
Right, because relying on sequential video reactions fractures the overarching thesis about psychological conditioning and cult mechanics.
It is a major structural weakness. Right now, the piece operates as a completely disjointed play-by-play.
Yeah, it reads like a live stream reaction. The author plays a clip of Josh Hammer, reacts to it, then plays a clip of Nathan Livingston and reacts to that.
Which forces the audience to navigate these completely random tangents.
Like the boyfriend's JFK and Israel rants. Or that weird speculation about Tyler Robinson's microphone.
Exact. Rather than following a sustained, deliberate argument about exactly how this influencer captures her audience.
And the frustrating part is that the core argument is so incredibly good. Let's look closely at the section discussing the Venn diagram and the queen bee frequency.
That's clearly laid out. I wonder, though, if we've considered how the reaction video format is just entirely dictating the pacing of the essay.
Right, because the author's most brilliant original insight is that Venn diagram concept where the influencer meets at the intersection of conspiracy and hate.
But it is buried deep in the back half of the transcript. The external clips are driving the ship rather than the author's core thesis.
So the suggestion here is to invert the structure entirely.
Yes, introduce the core original theories first. Bring that intersectionality between Jew hate and conspiracy Venn diagram concept to the very first 3 minutes of the video.
Make it the definitive thesis statement right off the bat, and then use brief, highly curated snippets of the external videos purely as supporting evidence.
Exactly. So, for a concrete example, when showing the Josh Hammer boyfriend clip, do not play it continuously.
Just pause it at specific moments to explicitly point out where the boyfriend's rant maps onto the Venn diagram.
Yes, prove the thesis in real time. It is so much more engaging for the viewer.
And part of that curation means cutting things that don't serve the thesis, like the speculation about Tyler Robinson.
That has to go entirely. It is just a tangential rabbit hole that distracts from the primary focus on the follower's psychological state.
Totally agree. So once the structure is inverted and the thesis is front and center, we have to talk about completeness and focus.
Right, because the causal link between consuming online propaganda and committing physical violence relies heavily on assumption rather than established evidence.
The transcript boldly claims that followers are being conditioned and programmed to do dangerous things.
It draws these straight lines from online comment sections to extreme historical events like David Koresh.
Or even hypothetical White House shooters.
Yeah, the author claims these followers, quote, will do the job. As I understand it from the notes, the argument here is that the rhetoric guarantees a physical outcome.
But without acknowledging the vast psychological gap between being an internet troll and becoming a domestic terrorist, the argument risks sounding extremely conspiratorial.
Right. It risks sounding just as fear-mongering as the people it is critiquing. It is like pointing to a spark in the fireplace and declaring the whole neighborhood has already burned down.
Wow, yeah, that is exactly what it feels like. We need to meticulously show the audience exactly how the fire actually spreads, from the hearth to the rug to the walls.
Is the connection between A and B fully established in the material, or is that an area to potentially bolster? Because right now, the text lacks those empirical stepping stones.
So what is the concrete suggestion to fix that specific gap?
Strengthen the argument by mapping the exact radicalization pipeline.
Okay, and how do they do that practically, without getting bogged down?
First, they need to explicitly introduce and define the term stochastic terrorism.
Oh, okay. Why that term specifically?
It gives the audience a recognized psychological and sociological framework. It helps them understand how seemingly indirect rhetoric actually inspires disconnected real-world violence.
That makes a lot of sense. It grounds the whole thing in actual established sociology.
Exactly. And once that framework is in place, you soften the absolute guarantees of violence and ground the claims in specific, localized incidents rather than sweeping hypotheticals.
So instead of claiming followers will do the job, use more precise phrasing.
Right, like saying, this rhetoric statistically increases the probability of lone wolf actions.
That is so much more legally and intellectually sound. And finally, what about the Turning Point USA plot they mentioned?
They need to connect that bomb plot much more explicitly to the exact phrases or lies the influencer has peddled.
Oh, I see. Draw a direct, undeniable evidentiary line between the host's broadcasted words and the specific target chosen by the attacker.
You got it. Don't just say they happen in the same sphere. Prove the cause and effect right there on the page. That makes the argument absolutely bulletproof.
It really does. All right, let's quickly summarize the three main structural pivots. First, elevating the tone to match the gravity of the subject.
Right. Drop the ad hominem nicknames to maintain that objective authority.
Second, restructuring the piece to lead with the author's original Venn diagram thesis in the first 3 minutes, rather than relying on a string of reaction clips.
And third, shoring up the logical leaps between online rhetoric and physical violence by introducing the concept of stochastic terrorism to really ground the argument.
Fantastic. We warmly invite you to implement these structural edits and submit your revised work back to the critique for further review.